Good morning, Narelle.
Good morning, beautiful Amanda.
It's podcast day for Girl Awakening, and we have our celebrity guest host, Narelle Clyde. Yeah.
Thank you for having me, joining to just take the reins for a little moment from our beautiful Joe Hendy. So
yes.
It's great to be here and in space with you and making magic.
So much magic, and I'm really appreciative of that today because it's like just such crappy weather out there. It's so depressing.
Pouring rain, like days and days and days of rain.
So it really, today, stepping in with our guest today is all about lifting our spirits and going somewhere special. So we're going to welcome Laetitia Andrac, our guest. Thank you, Laetitia, for stepping in today.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited for this conversation.
There's a lot of energy.
Yes, absolutely. There's so many nuggets I want to dive into, but I'll let you do an intro.
Well, so let's welcome Laetitia. Letitia's greatest joy is helping her clients create their own breakthroughs in their own businesses so that they can have an increased impact on people and planet while generating more profit. 3 Ps, people. I love that. She combines the energy work and ancient spiritual wisdom of herself as a serial entrepreneur and strategy expert to help you create more impact, wealth, freedom, and magic. Loving that even more.
Yes, absolutely.
Her belief is that money gives you leverage, and with increased leverage comes increased impact. We know that when women have wealth, it gets shared, communities grow, families prosper, and the world becomes a better place. And it's always about the impact. I just get goosebumps.
Just really speaks to everything that we're here for, really. Choices and freedom and impact and community. Gives me shivers.
You're sitting in a very powerful space, Laetitia. I'm excited to hear your awakenings.
Yes. So should we dive straight in with that? Yeah, we'd love to hear about you. I mean, many awakenings by the sounds of things, but when did your awakening begin and where do you want to start with today?
Thank you so much for having me. When you mentioned that we are going to dive into the awakening, I really wanted to be like, okay, there are many awakenings, so which one am I going to dive into? And as I'm sitting here today in Dawa country in Australia, I think it's worth mentioning that my awakening journey built up since I'm a very young girl. So I come from a healing family in the south of France, in a very small town in Provence, which is called Flayo in Provençal, which is our native language. And in this family, I was taught about spirit, about nature, about the connection with energy and all of those kind of things. And I'd say from a very young age, I had this kind of awakening in me around knowing that I am bigger than my physical form and things are bigger than just who I am and how I am in this body. But I'd say rather than mentioning this little girl who had multiple awakening from 5-year-old to 12-year-old, when I discovered I had the gift of healing as well, when my dad had a big migraine and he asked me to remove his migraine, I was like, I don't know how to do it. He's like, you know how to do it. So I removed that without catching it myself, which was kind of the game, I wanted to check if I was catching it myself, but I created a great bubble of protection around me, which he had taught me. So basically all of those things. And, from my 18-year-old girl, 20-year-old, when I traveled to India, and I had many awakening in India when I was 20, which was in 2004, and then Brazil, where I had a lot of awakening as well in Pantanal, in, Amazonia and things like that. And then moving through my journey. But I think the biggest awakening happened at my burnout, which is a story I share in my book. It was in 2014. I was 30 at the time. And it's really a moment where everything came together. So all those learning, all this ancient wisdoms that I had gathered through my family, but also through my experiences living in India, living in Brazil, where every time I had, awakening moments, this moment when I hit burnout, when I was at the darkest place in my life, the dark journey of the soul as we all know it, is this moment where everything came together and it all made sense. And many things shifted from there. And that's why my business is called the Essential Shift, which we may cover at some point. But it's really like going back to this moment where I was in my bed, couldn't move, no energy when I'm neurodivergent, hyperactive, hypersensitive, hyper autistic, hyper everything. And in that moment, my body didn't want to move. I hit what we call the autistic burnout, like we couldn't do anything. And in that moment, everything made sense. Everything reconnected, and I reconnected with ancestral family member, reconnected with spirit guide, reconnected with many things that I had forgotten about because I was too busy in the go of going after a thriving career, being in one of the top firm in the world in strategy consulting, which are heavily masculine world, where actually being a woman, being a girl, being connected to your intuition, your divine feminine energy is not really something that is accepted. It's all about, you know, the ego driving everything and the results and all of that. So I'd say this 30-year-old self that awakened was a big shift in my entire life. And it took me from Paris and France to Sydney. It took me like so many things changed from there, from that moment.
Wow. And what was the time frame? I'm just always curious about, you know, like how that, because, you know, you say it happened sort of in that moment at that time, and you imagine this sort of like spontaneous combustion almost. Was it, you know, days, weeks, months, years? Like, what was the time frame of that period?
I love this question. So the moment where I hit burnout, there were a voice in me being like, you need to remember. You need to remember. And I think it was this moment of remembrance of all the things that I had rejected. I had rejected, you know, the lineage. I had rejected the growing up in a very small town in France with a family who was so connected to nature and so on that we were not really traveling or, you know, having financial wealth or things like that. It was very simple life, happy life, very simple. And I had to remember that. And I had to remember my 20-year-old self who went to India, my 22-year-old self who lived in Brazil. Like I had to remember. So it was really this message of remembrance. And then from there, as I took a few weeks off work, I really, across those few weeks, reconnected with the gift that I had with my medium, my psychic medium lineage, my healing lineage, the teaching that I had been imparted within me around Ayurveda when I lived in India, the teaching of sacred cacao when I was living in Brazil. So all of those teaching was like, remember. So it took a few weeks to really, you know, gather everything. And then after those few weeks, everything had to change. I had to move to another place. And that's when Australia called me, literally called me in a meditation, was like, you need to move to Australia. And so that's when, with my partner at the time, we were organizing our wedding on top of all the work that I was doing and the burnout as well. You know, burnout is never just linked to one thing. It's like everything at one point is just like bubbling up. And I told him, I was like, we need to move to Australia. This is where we need to go. And bless his soul, he was just like, okay, let's do it. We've never been to Australia, didn't know anything about this country. And then I was like, but as I'm burnt out, I'm not going to be looking for a job straight away. You need to find like a job. And he found a job very quickly. Within 2 weeks, he found a job with, you know, a contract and a visa and, you know, all our staff transferred to Australia. So we were like very fortunate. And then divinely guided, I would say. And then when we arrived, I took 6 months to really rediscover who I am. So who I am without this pressure from other people, as I was always so successful and, you know, being on top of my class and getting scholarship to get in the best business school. And then, you know, getting promoted very quickly in the strategy consulting world that I was in, and always, you know, being a token of a woman who is successful. I was even interviewed on TV around, is there, you know, a difference between being a man or a woman in corporate? I was like, no, there isn't, because I really thought that I was behaving like a man, so there were no difference. So I was like a token of feminism in a way, which today I'm quite ashamed about, but that's okay. It's just who I was in my 20s, with sharp teeth and just going after, you know, the gold and, you know, playing like a man. And then, yeah, I just think like everything shifted. So then to answer your question short, they were like the first few weeks and then the first 6 months when I really took time for myself to rediscover who I am and who I want to be moving forward.
I love that you pressed the pause button longer than those couple of weeks and allowed yourself to have that longer time span to really integrate what was coming to you. And you know, even though you know, like that you know, said we're moving to Australia before you got married, and gave him the opportunity to say, well, oh, okay. But obviously, you know, he saw the divine feminine in you too, amongst, you know, that whole feminist identity that you'd embraced. But I wanted to ask too, going back to, like, as you say, like with the neurodivergency and the hyperactive and the hyper autistic, all those intensely beautiful qualities that are, you know, a different way of seeing the world, but also extremely high functioning, the way you're describing yourself, how that kind of corkscrew is kind of wound up, and responded to, you know, the end of spiral in a way, didn't it, really? But being such high functioning persona, you just kept going.
Yeah, definitely. It's like everyone knew that if they were giving me something, I would do it, and I would do it greater than someone else. And so it was like this. I was called within the firm as a staccanovist. Just give it to Laetitia. She will fucking do it and make everyone do it. And it's just like, then it's not a problem. Just put it on her, put it on her, put it on her. So I was, you know, having all of those things, and with those high quality, and basically, you know, in a neurotypical world, you can do that and people will just stop, or they will, you know, just say no. Or but I had this neurotype which made me just like, okay, I can do it, my brain can do it, I can do it, but my body couldn't anymore. My body was needing the rest. My body and my soul and my heart were like, this is like, you need to stop, you need to look at the sky, you need to connect with nature. What day are we? I don't even know, because I went in the office, you know, with a cab so early that the sun was not even rising, and I would come back, you know, with another cab at 10 p.m. Like, it's crazy. If I tell you the length of hours I was working and the intensity, and going in the office on a Sunday, you know, those kind of things were my life for years, not just weeks, not just months, years. And I was just very happy, I thought, because I had, you know, the external validation and the success and confirmation and all those beautiful projects. You know, I'm so grateful. I got to work with Bloomberg Philanthropy, meet Mike Bloomberg. I got to impact incredible projects, which were, you know, saving the health system in France. Like, so many things where, you know, my soul was nourished, but not enough compared to how it was exhausted at the same time. So something had to shift, something had to change. And I really think now neurodivergency is more and more mainstream in terms of the literature, the research. People are more and more opening up and sharing this. And we know that neurodivergent people are more inclined to burning out because we are hypersensitive, hypersensory. So we need more of the calm, and we were working those big open space. So before, when I had my office, it was fine. But then it was like, okay, change of policy. Now even the manager and the principal, everyone will be in an open space. Like, space. I hated it. I had my noise cancelling headphone. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to change space every day, but I need to be by the window. I need to know where are my staff. It was just like, it was really hard. All of those things changing, you know, it's like micro change maybe for someone else who is listening to this. But for me, it was like my office was my safe space. I could close the door. I could, and that's why I love now working for myself. I have my, you know, space, my cave, as my husband called it, with all my crystal and things. This is my cave. This is my witch cave. I know I have my most comfy chair, which if I need to move back and forth, I can. If I want to use a fidgety toy, I can. I have a box of fidgety toy. If I want to put some music, I can. Like, I can do whatever I want. And that was not the case.
Toys. A box of fidget toys.
I don't know what they are. What are they?
They are just as, you know, let me show you.
Got one handy.
Here's one I got earlier.
Yeah. So, for instance, I have, you know, those kind of things. And then I have, you know, my that you just do this and this.
Oh, I see. Oh,
okay. Then I have those things that you press and, you know, with texture and so on. Yeah. I have, you know, those kind of thing which you turn around in your hand. I have, so, you know, it's like a little box of fidgety toys here.
I have all these different things on my desk that I can paint and squeeze and okay.
I think more people are more more people are more neurodivergent than they realize. And and as you said before, like the awareness that we're having around neurodivergency and the more sharing that happens in the space, the more we actually get to identify parts of ourselves and go, oh, I actually function better this way, or you know, acknowledge you know, our own.
It's a big permission. It's a big permission slip to do those things. And I find like a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, it's trendy to be neurodivergent. I'm like, so do you think it's trendy to have cancer? Because there are more and more people with cancer. And it's not about being a trend or something. It's just about accepting that we are all different and we all need different things to thrive. And you don't need a diagnostic of being neurodivergent to allow yourself to use fidgety toys. I have seen, you know, some of my friends who are neurotypical at heart, but they just love it. And when they come, they cannot, you know, hold themselves because we have squishy toys in a lot of places in our house because my eldest is highly autistic. And so we have all of those things and they just love it. I'm like, that's great. It's not just for neurodivergent.
Yeah.
It's like bread is not just for French people. Everyone can eat bread and love baguette and croissant, right? So it's like, it's not because it was created for a certain culture, a certain neurotype, a certain, you know, that it's only for them. If you enjoy it, just have it, enjoy it and respect that.
Absolutely. And remembering to play and not be so, you know, like this, the element of, not so stiff, but 100%, the element of play creates more joy and it creates more resilience and more flexibility as opposed to the stiffness and the rigidity of having to be a certain way. And so I think it's a welcome awareness that I think we all need to embrace so beautifully. I'm also listening to you and I'm hearing the difference, the contrast, the powerful calling of the remembering, like, you know, being 2022 in Brazil and in India and in the Amazon, like all these intensely nature, you know, very strongly natural environments, very like sensory with smells and, you know, you know, people, very dense populations, all these things that would have been very embracing. And then this, you know, the corporate environment as opposed to, you know, taking out of a totally different sensory environment, you know, two extreme opposites, isn't it?
And I'm so curious about what happened in that shift that sort of seems to have, and you can talk more into this, but sort of blended those two worlds together almost, because, you know, you've got the business strategy and stuff that you do, and then all the beautiful witchy magical awesomeness that nature infused. And like that shift, how was that for you to go from that like highly functioning, very stressful way of being to not?
And that's a very good question. And I would say to everyone that it didn't happen overnight. And there were a lot of discomfort, you know, really like we all share about the butterfly in the chrysalid or the snake changing skin and all those kind of things. It was really uncomfortable in terms of a shift. And I think what really helped me is I tried to change my habits. So after a month off, I tried to see what would it look like if I go back to working in Paris and in the same environments by changing my habit, just going out in nature every day, because I had the beautiful Butte Chaumont Park just opposite my house, which is a big park in Paris. And I was like, I could do that actually. I live in an apartment where I had chosen this apartment with its own door in the street, like a little, as if it was a house, but it was an apartment. And I have nature at my doorstep, but I'm just not enjoying it. So what if I change my habit? And what if I, you know, I bring that a bit more consciously, intentionally in my everyday life? But just changing those tiny habits was not enough. So I had to change my environment to allow myself to basically reinvent myself. So if anyone is feeling like I can change a tiny thing and it will change everything. Just go for it. But sometimes those tiny things, even if you compound them, are not enough. And that's what happened with me. I was so stuck in, you know, years and years of programming, of living in such a high achieving, high intensity, high stress, high expectation of everyone of me, that I couldn't be truly this blend of the two, which I am now in the bridge. So I had to change my environment. And I know why Australia called me, because Australia is a beautiful blend of modernity and ancient wisdom. And here I have, you know, my Niwi from Minmaya with my Aboriginal mentor and my guide here in Australia. And I really connect with this land on this ancient wisdom that is in this land. And I think in Australia, there is this beautiful dance between modernity and ancient wisdom. There is this opening to both, where in France we were, you know, hunting witches, and we were, you know, forbidding astrologer, and I'm an astrologer as well through my lineage, and you know, we were forbidding astrologer till 1985. So it's like we were a country was going backwards in terms of accepting this ancient wisdom, which now maybe it's going a bit more in that direction, even though when I speak in France about what I'm doing in Australia, they're like, oh my gosh, you will never make money here with that. This land will be healed from some aspect of it. But I think Australia really allowed me to be that bridge. So it was not an overnight thing. And when I moved to Australia, I took 6 months to really rediscover and remember and know what I wanted to do. And I knew I wanted to do what I am doing, you know, for the last 3 years with Essential Shift. But still, it took me 7 years to launch Essential Shift. During 7 years, I refined my craft. So I did some training in, you know, in different modalities. I learned different things. I dived deeper in some ancient teaching. I did all those things. I connected with sacred country here in Australia, different things like this, so that I felt I could do this work in a way that was honoring the ancient wisdom, the cyclical wisdom, those way of being and living that I was taught by my parents, that was taught when I was living in India, that was taught to me when I was living in Brazil, when I was living in Senegal, when I was living in different other country, and the sacred teaching of business and strategy and finance and money. And both can really be together, because we need both. We need the yin and the yang. We need the divine feminine, the divine masculine. We need the Shakti and the Shiva. We need both energy within us. And it's not about finding a 50-50 balance. I hate the word balance. It's about finding a harmony. So a time in our life where sometimes we're more, you know, in the divine masculine energy, and sometimes we're more in the divine feminine energy. And so that's okay. So it was, you know, a journey that started in 2014 and, you know, really embraced everything in 2021 when I really decided to go all in with Essential Shift. So yeah, it was not an overnight shift, but now I am very clear around this bridge that I am. And I can speak to big corporate, like I do talk for Amazon Web Services on intuition as a techpreneur, and like, wow. Because I used to work in data and AI in Telstra, which is a big firm. I was a general manager in AI and data analytics and commercialization. Like I know the masculine, I know the data, I know the number, but I know also the power of intuition, surrendering, cycle. And so I can be that bridge. I can do that. I'm really convinced that I am here at that point in time to do that work.
We can feel that when we're hearing you speak, Laetitia.
Yeah, conviction.
Yeah,
it's really beautiful. Yeah,
and to be so coherent in both worlds, like, you know, I mean, AI is a big part of everyone's lives, whether we want it to be or not. But to have a relationship with it is, I think, going to be critical to, you know, how it is present in our lives. But to be able to have to understand it at the level that you are working in it and amongst it all, and not have it logically eradicate all the other part of you, that is also so powerful and alive. No, I think that's, as you say, describing yourself as a bridge is a really what's the word I'm trying to find? It's a very inclusive way of being in all of that, all of where we are in the world, past, present, and emerging. You know,
yes,
we need more bridges. So I'm excited.
Yeah, it's such an important role because of, like, you know, we can know about all the divine feminine intuition, you know, creative aspects of being, but we do need that other side, and for you to be able to bridge those two worlds, it's like that's exactly what's needed. And so it's such a gift, it's such medicine to the world. And yeah, thank you for doing what you're doing. And actually, I think this would be a really good time to ask.
Yeah.
So you have referred to yourself, or do refer to yourself in some spaces, as a business doula. I would love to hear more about, you know, for anyone listening who's like, business doula, I've never heard that term. What is it? What does that mean? And mind might be going to all sorts of different places. What does that mean to you, for you, as you?
Yes. So this word was gifted to me during a meditation. So I meditate every day. I started meditation when I was 5-year-old to really help me manage my high anxiety and hypersensitivity and so on. So I was introduced to meditation at the age of 5, and you know, tapping and all those kind of things. But basically, I was in a meditation, and I was really at the beginning of my journey with Essential Shift and being like, what do I want to do? How do I want to, you know, mentor people in their business? I have a background in innovation strategy consulting. I have a background, you know, in AI. I have a background in product performance. I have a background, like I had so many different things that I could do. And in that instant, it was like, you need to actually bring the divine feminine and this energy. And there is no better embodiment of that than a doula. A doula who is really helping you through the birth of your child, who is holding sacred space for the woman to trust her body and to birth in harmony with the child and what she needs, and really not telling you this is how you need to be, this is how you need to breathe. This is just here to hold the space, or even sitting in a corner and being here with her, kindness and compassion, or holding your hips and, you know, helping you through a contraction. So really, I was fascinated by the work of the doula, and I started a doula training at that time. And I was like, that's something that I do. I basically hold this space where conversation can happen, where shift can happen, where we can go back to what's truly essential, so the doula word dropped in that moment, and it dropped with soul and business doula. But I removed the soul because I know if we speak about soul and business doula, soul is already like, you lose 50% of the people because they're like, oh my gosh, what is she going to do? But I really do this soul work with people, realigning their business with their soul, their calling, their passion, their purpose, the thing that they were meant to be doing. Because if you don't have a why in business, you're just stopping very quickly at the first difficulty. You're just like, okay, I'm quitting and it's too hard. Whereas if it's so aligned with your soul purpose, then you keep going and you trust, and you go through the dark journey and the light, and you trust the process. Basically, you trust the cycle of the season in business. And so I kept just a business doula because it's like, already doula, people are like, what is it? And then business. So what's happening with these names that I have on my social, you know, on Instagram, I'm writing business doula. It's people ask questions like, what do you do? What is the work that you do? So I want to encourage anyone listening to this to have permission to define their title, define the work that they do, you don't need someone to tell you, you are this. You are what you decide you are. And my sacred work is really being a business doula, as I hold this sacred space for women or men in business to really birth the next iteration of their leadership, the next iteration of their business, the next iteration of themselves. And yes, that's what I do now for a living. And I love it. It's fun.
We love
really
it
fun.
too. Yeah, I love hearing you say, give yourself permission. You said that a couple of times now, and it just automatically adds such power to what you're saying. for the listener. You know, like you're embracing your own experience in that, but you're also extending it to the person that's listening, and you really feel that. And I think we give ourselves permission enough. And
no, we don't.
And it's funny.
We ask a lot for permission, but we don't give ourselves permission. And that's why I love this reframe around don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness. It's something that, you know, is very powerful in one of the Nike manifesto. We love or dislike Nike. I don't really care, but it's one of their manifesto around ask for forgiveness rather than permission. And it's always how I would tell my clients, but I would also tell my team, because when I started working as a general manager in Telstra, which I did for 7 years in Australia, I would tell, before I jumped all in with Essential Shift, I was telling my team member, let's embrace this manifesto. We are not going to ask for permission. We're just going to ask for forgiveness. We give ourselves permission to do whatever we feel is the right thing to do. And we try, and we see, and we may win, we may fail. If we fail, we learn. So it's amazing. And the biggest entrepreneur in this world now are talking about the power of intuition, are talking about this permission that you give yourself when you listen to your intuition and to what's right, what's the thing that feels right. And even Jeff Bezos said that he launched Amazon Prime on an intuitive nudge, and it didn't make sense in terms of the modeling, financial modeling and all that. But now it's one of their biggest revenue driver, Amazon Prime. But at the time, it was not making sense. So it's all about trusting that nudge and giving yourself permission to just try. What's the worst that can happen? You learn, because if you fail, you learn. So that's the worst that can happen. Who doesn't want to learn? I do. I know I want to learn.
100%. I think yes, again, we all want to learn so much, but we don't always frame it in that context. We go through so many different journeys to realize how much we want to learn. But what I'm hearing too, like what we were talking before we came on with you, Laetitia, was in the world of like healers and holistic health and women in business, full stop, is we don't often attribute success to our journey, like, or that that's an achievement that's possible, and as a massage therapist, even our massage association used to constantly send out business tips in the newsletters, because they were acknowledging, people in health industries, alternative health industries, were not the best business people, because they're service orientated, they're givers, they're this and they're that. And I think the space that you're talking in is an incredibly, and that you're living for your own journey, for your awakenings, is an incredibly powerful space to create such dynamic change. Because
yes, and that's why I see a lot of, like, I help a lot of allied health or therapists or holistic practitioner, and a lot of them are burnout and broke. I'm like, so you're doing an amazing work for other people, but we know that we cannot pour from an empty cup, yet you're doing this every day to yourself. So how might we review your business model? How might we review your product offering? How might we innovate in a way that actually you're not broke, so you can give back 1% to the planet, or you can give back 1% to an NGO that you really love, or you can give back and do some pro bono. I do a lot of scholarship for my programs and so on. So you can give back and you can have a better impact for the planet and so on. So let's stop being broke. Let's stop seeing money as evil, because money can actually give you power and impact. And deciding to vote with your wallet and deciding to sponsor political parties that will have a positive impact on people, women, planet, whatever you care about. So let's stop being broke, and let's stop being burnt out. Let's stop working like a dude, working crazy and just ignoring your cycle, and then being completely burnt out. So then you cannot serve anyone, you cannot do your sacred work, you cannot heal other, you cannot have this impact. So I'm really having those kind of clients coming to me being like, either they broke or they burn out, or both. They have the double B. It's like, let's have the triple P, and rather than the double B, let's just change that. Let's move from broken burnout to actually blissful, brilliant, abundant, whatever you want to move. But for me, it's really like the triple P that is at the heart of my business, which is for people, purpose, and planet, is really essential. And we need profit. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think, like, as you mentioned there, about, you know, how you spend money and how you do money, do you see with clients and what you've observed in that community, it being like the place to start would be money mindset, or like how you view wealth or how you view success, or would it be something else?
Yeah, so it's a very interesting thing. So the way I see it, for me, it's we start with the lineage, actually. So all of the lineage, and that's why I'm a psychodrama therapist as well. But it's like looking at all the things that were imparted in you. So all those beliefs, it can be money belief, but it can be working belief. Like you have to work hard. You have to work hard because otherwise you're not deserving, or you have. So really looking at all of those beliefs that were imparted in you through your lineage, through your stories, through your, you know, young adult life and so on. So I love to start with this kind of root chakra aspect, you know, all your roots, all your lineage, all the things that were imparted in you. And we start there, definitely. We start reframing, acknowledging, bringing awareness. And then we start stopping saying that we're not good with money, or we're not good with this, or, you know, we should work harder to make money. Or so we definitely work through the belief, but I also equip them with the knowledge and the tools, because actually everyone, like I will tell you, 80% of my clients say, I'm not good at math, I'm not good at Excel, I'm not good at finance. I'm like, seriously? This is so freaking easy. It's so easy. It's so dumb. Like, honestly, math is dumb. Philosophy is really hard.
Yes.
Philosophy is really, really hard.
Yeah.
Writing philosophy, having philosophical questioning, that's fucking hard. Math, it's right or wrong.
True.
It's really easy. It's really binary. It's right or wrong. Whereas philosophy, you can, oh my gosh, oh la la, like read some Kant, Nietzsche, Pascal, like just read that. You're like, whoa, you know, this is hard.
Yeah, that's so true. And I have to ask, did you write it down? The psychodrama therapist.
Yeah.
I have not heard of that before. Can you just?
Yeah, so it's a group therapy which was created in the 1900s. And you may have heard about family constellation or inner family constellation. And it's basically the father of all of this. It's a father discipline, was created in Germany by a guy, and it's basically the father of this. And my teacher is called Catherine Orwood. She's absolutely wonderful in Australia. She's a very experienced psychodrama therapist in Australia. And the way she describes it, it's really about understanding the system. So healing your system. So healing, you know, a belief that you have that's actually coming from an interaction at the time with a teacher, with someone in the street, with a parent, with a grandparents, with an auntie. So it's really like looking at the system, and you play the drama. So you take a scene and you play the drama of that scene. And there is the main character, so you as playing your drama, but then you have auxiliary, as it's called, which is people you pick in the group to play the different roles. And so you witness the system, you witness the malfunctioning of the system, but you also have healing happening for those who are playing the different roles.
Yeah.
So it's something very, very powerful. It's only done in person and in group. And I have facilitated, last time I facilitated this at one of my retreats for entrepreneurs. It just, all the women in the room are just like, oh my gosh, the role I played, the scene we played, it's just exactly what I needed to see something.
Amazing.
Yeah. And that's why you often have the same shadow, trauma, elements of self that comes up, you know, limiting belief, as some will call it, that are coming up. And it's often, you know, linked to a story that really happened, but you're allowed in the drama to change the story, what they call in surplus reality. So you're allowed during this drama to change that belief in the drama. So then you witness the thing and you're like, way better than just having positive affirmation or, you know, writing down that you're beautiful every day.
Rewriting history.
What I thought is it would be very cathartic in the moment, like, say, emotionally, mentally, and you can't go back from there. It's done, it's dusted, it's out.
Exactly. And you live it, you live for that moment in surplus reality. You live what it means to have a loving parents, for instance, or you live what it means to, you know, let go of thinking that money is hard to earn, or you really live in the surplus reality, in the drama. You're acting it out. You're basically doing it in that moment. So then you can literally know what it feels. It's not just imagine how it feels. Oh my gosh, but how do you imagine something you've never lived through?
Yeah, exactly.
So let's live it. Let's really play it. Let's say it. Let's witness it. Let's act it out.
Yeah, so powerful.
Because I heard you say about as a 5-year-old about meditating and also tapping, and tapping is an interesting one as well. Like what comes up when you're releasing different things, tapping and that whole
physical sensation.
Physical sensation. And so the psychodrama would be like dialing that up even a few notches as well.
My auntie who is part of my healing lineage, my dad's sister, like older sister. She's a very powerful healer, and she was doing family constellation healing in France, as well as you know, healing and all of that. And she's the one who introduced me to family constellation. And then when I arrived in Australia, I was looking to train in family constellation or learn more, and I couldn't find anyone locally. And I found someone who was doing psychodrama, and I was like, what is that? And I asked my auntie, and she's like, oh my gosh, so good, you're so lucky, go and learn that. And yeah, I am so grateful. It's not an easy work to do on self, but when you do it on yourself and then you witness other going through the process, it's really, really powerful. I find psychodrama, family constellation, inner family constellation works a lot with neurodivergent people, because we need to see and live and, you know, feel in our body. Otherwise we can just stay in our head and then so we need to really have this physical sensation. So it really works a lot for neurodivergency.
So good. Well, we've by natural organic process, which often happens, traveled through a few of our questions, but I'd like to come back to one that's around asking, when did you first notice a shift in your thoughts about the world? Because we've kind of already gone a lot of places around the world, and you know, the depth of, you know, the different experiences that you've embraced. But I think that kind of brings us back to a little bit around yourself, and you know, going through those stages, as you said, as a 5 to 12-year-old, the 18-year-old, the 20-year-old, to the corporate dude. No, like, I mean, there's a little, I think when did you first notice a shift in your thoughts around the world, Laetitia?
I think it was when I was 18. So my teachers applied for me to get in one of the best preparatory school to then integrate one of the best business school, which my parents didn't do any studies, so they didn't even know about this. And I'm so grateful I had teachers who identified my potential very early on, and my what they call high potential, high IQ, blah blah blah. And so basically they applied for me to get in this preparatory school, and I arrived in this preparatory school, which was in Sophia Antipolis, so close to Cannes. And I come from my very small village, you know, Flyers, where we had no luxury, nothing like. And I arrived in this thing with only son and daughter of parents who are expatriate in one of the, you know, wealthiest people in France or in other country. They are ambassador of France in Japan or whatever. Like, just I enter this world of fucking wealth. I was like, whoa. What is that? What is Prada? I didn't know what Prada was. I didn't know what Louis Vuitton was. I had never been in a shopping mall. I had never been to a museum, to an opera. I was like, what is this world? And I remember being like, whoa, there is wealth. There is fucking lots of wealth out there. And it's in that moment I was like, I want this too. I want this too, and I want to give it back. I want to use it differently, and so on. So I remember this moment when I was 18, when I arrived in that place where, you know, they all had traveled in many countries. I had never taken a plane by then. I took my first plane to go to India. I had a panic attack. It was the first time I was taking a plane. I had a panic attack. I was upgraded to business for a few hours because they were like, oh my gosh, she's not coping well. No, I'm not. What is this thing? What is happening? Yeah, great hack. But you really need to struggle breathing, be on oxygen. Like, it's not very comfortable, okay? So But yeah, I just entered that world where, they were just going. I started working when I was 14 during my holiday to pay, for things, to contribute, to buy myself, a motorcycle, to just like they were just, those people were just like, oh my God, it's so wealthy. And not that I was unhappy, I was so happy, and I had such a simple life, and it was just wonderful. I never felt the need for more money because I was just living, that way, and that was fine. And yes, I remember my parents often saying, oh, we don't have enough for this, or but I was not poor at all. Yes, I had scholarship and so on and so forth, which made me realize that actually I was on the poorest level of French people, but never felt I was poor. I had a house, I had everything I needed. But in that moment when I was 18, I was like, oh my gosh, there is level that I never thought could exist. Like, those people have literally, they're driving a Porsche at 18. What is a Porsche? I have heard about this, but it's like those kind of moments. I was like, oh my goodness. And I remember going for the first time in a shopping mall in Nice, because it was close to Nice, where I was studying. So Cannes, Nice, all of that. And it's just a place in France, Cannes, Nice, Monaco, just very wealthy in your eyes and all that. And I was just like, oh my goodness, like, they're spending this much money on a handbag? Wait, serious? Doing this? Why are they doing this? Like, this is so much money. And it was just nothing for them. And so, yeah. And then I learned a lot. About myself and we know how surrounding yourself with people who are wealthy. There is actually a study done about this. You take two poor neighborhoods, and in one neighborhood, if you have just a little bit more of richer people, just a few, and you hang out with them, then you see in 30 years down the track that those people are richer than the other in the other neighborhood. And I really know that exposing myself at 18, so grateful for those teachers who pushed me down that path, which was not known to my parents. And this is where, there is, I don't know if you know Bourdieu, but which is a wonderful sociologist in France, who study around the social, economic, like the fact that you reproduce what you had and so on. So my parents didn't even know about those business school and all this kind of world. So grateful for my teachers to do that. But I know it shaped my life. And today, if I'm sitting on, the wealth that I had created for myself, wealth holistically, from my health, from, my way of being, the time that I have, the money that I make, all of that, really that moment in my 18 when I realized that I could do differently and there were amazing things to explore. It's really one of my key moments, like really arriving in that world, with my 18-year-old self being like, oh.
Yeah. Wow.
Such an incredible contrast. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely a huge shift in your thoughts around the world.
It takes me back to the brain cracking thing that you and Joe were talking about in another episode. And it's just like, yeah, I felt like when you were describing that, it was like, brain.
Yeah. Yeah. And then on the other way around, when I arrived in India, when I was 20-year-old, and just realizing the poverty and the simplicity, I was like, oh, I thought I was living a simple life. Oh my gosh, like simplicity and the contrast. And, India was for me a realization of how poor you can be and how happy you can be. So it was like this kind of, yeah, I really had those moments where, you realize that wealth can be out of this world, but also poverty. It's out of your world, but you can belong in that world, but also poverty can be out of your world, but you can belong to that world as well. So really understanding those contrasts. And yeah, for me, it was really, really fascinating. This 18-year-old self, I think she will never forget. And she learned so much. Like, I learned so much. I learned how to manage my money. I learned how to, because you just ask questions to those people who just have this intergenerational wealth. You just don't know what it is to not be able to buy something. Like, I remember going with my mom in grocery store and sometimes saying, can we buy it? No, we cannot. And so
it's invaluable to, as you say before, around changing the lineage pattern, isn't it? To kind of, crack your brain in a way, but be observing and not feeling less than or, deprived or anything. Like, to have those, very close from 18 to 20, like when you're, taken in a new direction with going on a scholarship, to then being in India and seeing the contrast. Once again, I'm just seeing you as that bridge between the worlds. but to not to value both sides of the
Yeah.
bridge.
Yeah, definitely. Because you can learn so much. You know, I remember being, you know, in a slum in Mumbai, and they had strictly nothing, but they have, you know, the most beautiful jasmine in their hair, and they smell so beautifully when they're just living literally in junk. And you're like, oh my gosh, like they are in a slum in the middle of the smelliest slum in the world, but it smells good because I'm close to this woman who fine jasmine flower to put in her hair, and she has the most beautiful sari, even though it has a hole in it, but just the color of it and so on. Like, I get emotional because it's just, for me, it's like this contrast between, you know, what we tell you, you're poor then you're unhappy, you're rich then you're happy. No, wait, I have seen some of those people in, you know, in this preparatory school who were 18, they don't see their parents. Some of them, they were just working like crazy, and so yeah, they had a lot of money, but money can't buy happiness, but money can buy impact, power, community, all of that. So I really think that there is always, you know, contrast in everything we live, we say. And that's where, you know, a lot of people are taking shortcuts. And that's where I don't like the shortcut. And maybe it's my philosophy, my passion for philosophy, which I find so hard, but I love philosophy and poetry. But yeah, it's complex. It's complex. Human life is complex.
It sure is.
Yes, it sure is. Well, so what have you had to give up along the way, like, you know, transitioning through these different worlds? Like, do you find that people or things haven't come with you, or that, you know, what stuck with you along the way?
So I don't think if it's really people or if it's really thing. I think it's more thoughts that didn't come with me. I think I let go of a lot of thought and belief and a lot of things that I thought were right, and I let them go of them. So for instance, you know, when I was describing this powerful woman working in corporate and, you know, being like this shark, thinking that, you know, if you destroy everyone and if you're this one, then it's amazing. And yeah, you shouldn't have kids. So I didn't want to have kids. I didn't want to get married, all of those kind of things, because this will delay my career. I let go of all of that. So I think there were like a lot of programming that was embedded in me that I had to let go and shed away. And I'm sure I still have a lot of unconscious bias and, you know, beliefs that I still need to let go of. So I'm doing this work always on myself. You know, I really believe that the work never ends until you give your last breath. And as they say in the yogic culture, your lifetime is accounted on your number of breaths. So be mindful about every breath you take. But I really try to bring this awareness in my life and being like, okay, so what am I letting go with this breath? What am I letting go with this? And I think it's more letting go of some stuff that were imparted in me, some belief of what a good mother look like. Like I know as a mother, my two daughters, I let go of so many of those, like what a good mother look like. What you know, why is it not okay to get angry as a mother? It's actually very okay to get angry. So working with those emotions that you were imparted with, that they were not okay as a woman. It's not okay as a woman to be hysterical. Why isn't? Why it isn't? I can. I'm allowed to feel all the emotion and express them, as long as I'm not hurting anyone with it, as long as I'm, you know, holding myself responsible, accountable, and, you know, making sure that it's safe for self and others. But I really think that I'm every day, yeah, letting go of all those baggage and, you know, things like the backpack analogy, you know, all those rocks that you have in your backpack, and you're like, okay, what rock am I going to unpack today? Oh my gosh, this one. Oh yeah, hello you. Let's work with you today. Hello, didn't know you were here. I thought we had dealt with this 5 years ago. Oh, you clean up today. Great. So I think we still have a little bit to let go. So yeah, so
I love that.
Really, like,
yeah, I'm exploring the backpack, because often, you know, we can, what also just came to mind listening to you, was we can lump onto, oh, I've got to let go of this person, because if I don't, it means I'm not changing, or I'm not doing things differently, or these things I can't do anymore. I shouldn't do anymore, because it means I'm not changing. But as you say, it's the programming underlying everything.
Yeah. I haven't let go of anyone. Like, honestly, I was actually the celebrant because I'm trained as a celebrant as well. You know, if you ask me all the things that I trained in, that's a neurodivergency trait. You know, it's every time I find some things that I'm like, I'm going to train in this, because why not, you know? And so I actually was a celebrant in June of one of my best friends. We know each other since we're 2-year-olds. So I haven't let go necessarily of people. I've just let go of the belief that I may have about those people, or the things that I may have felt, or the hurt that I may have received, and then, you know, letting it go, forgiving, compassion, talking to them and things like that. And then if they want to keep going on the journey with me, they can, but I'm not cutting them out of my life. They may cut me out of their life, but I'm not, because I just think that people show up in your path because they are your greatest teacher at that time. So yeah.
I love that. And I think yeah, I think that what you're saying again around the forgiveness, like I've been the Hopo'ono prayer, the Hawaiian prayer of forgiveness, has been every now and again. It just seems to circulate more prevalently, and it's been something I've been exercising in myself. Just saying just the quick 4 verses of I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you.
Yeah.
And for some, to myself, just as much as I'm saying it to anything that happens, or anyone that's in my day as well. And it does create a big shift in the way that you feel around things, and what seems to flow next as well.
Yeah,
we sing it.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying?
Perception. It's not, you know, it's never the other person. It's always our perception, our belief, our story about what is happening. Right. So it's such a powerful tool to keep with us in a little toolbox.
Yeah.
And I wanted to add, Amanda, that we are singing this song with my daughter very often.
Sorry,
when, you know, we get angry or frustrated, or we express our emotion a bit too roughly. Can you hear me now? Okay. I was saying that with my So I was saying that with my daughter, we sing this forgiveness prayer. So like we sing it together when we, you know, one of us get angry, or one of us is just, you know, losing her shit, as we call it. So we're singing it. We're like, sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. So we're just singing it to each other, and just really going into that rhythm, the 3 of us, and it's really soothing us. Like the vibration of sound is really soothing us.
Oh yeah, that's the whole other conversation. I can't.
Yeah, sorry. Can get in that.
Right. And that someone was floating the thing around that if you're humming, you can't hold negativity or things like that. But and they copped a lot of flack for it. There's a big discussion, but I tried it myself, and I agree with you about the frequency of sound is one of the, you know, rising up so loudly at the moment, because so many people are discordant in themselves, and it's just a very easy way to achieve that feeling of calm, being soothed, not having to do anything. You're feeling it, and your body starts shifting, and then everything starts shifting. No need to do anything. Yeah. So singing is beautiful. So we're spending a lot of amazing time having fun with you this morning, but we know you've got other things to do. But so we've noticed a big shift in awareness in the world around self-worth and feelings of self-value. How does this energy sit with you in your life and awakenings, Laetitia?
Oh, that's a good question. I think when I would speak for myself, when I had my different moment of awakening, I really feel this deeper connection to self. And when you're deeply connected to self, you feel this unconditional love for self. And I really think self-worth is linked to that unconditional love. Because then if you really love yourself, you really feel worthy of who you are, and really feel this, you know, I am here for something. And I think every time I had this awakening, and I really ponder around this question when, you know, we were talking about awakening before. I wonder if awakening is a moment where it was so dissonant that you need to have an awakening for the, you know, the harmony or the resonance to happen again, you know, like an instrument which is off and then it's coming back. And I wonder if in those moments then of awakening, we feel this unconditional love for self. We're like, unconditional love for everything is connected. You know, often when people describe this moment of awakening, they feel that connection with everything. Like, I'm part of a bigger thing, and I'm, you know, and I belong, and I am, you know, I love myself and I love everything, and I could spend so much time with myself, and at the same time I could spend so much time with every being, everything that's around me. So there is like this big resonance, really this resonance with everything and with self. So I feel that every time I had an awakening, I had this, this resonance and harmony. And so then that means that I felt more worthy. I felt the connection with my self-worth and my self-love and all of that. So yeah, I think there is a connection between the awakening and this sense of self-worth. And then you forget about it because you go down again another rabbit hole, as we call it, or a tunnel, or, you know, a moment until your next awakening, a moment of exploration and dissonance, and how much dissonance can you hold, and then it hits you again, and you find again that harmony and that connection with self and everything. And I think this is what I teach a lot of my clients. Nothing is set in stone. We are cyclical. And so we enter those stage where we are expanding and then contracting and expanding and contracting. So as we expand, we may be feeling more dissonance because it's, you know, we need to hold space for more things that are, you know, contradictory or different, like the human experience. And then you enter that contraction state where it's like, oh my gosh, it's an awakening coming because I'm contracting, and I'm like adjusting to this new level of self. And then I will again expand. So really like the seasonal cycle for the moon, the sun, the our internal cycle and all of that. I really feel like there is this moment of, oh yeah, I'm worthy. And that comes often with an awakening.
Yeah, it's like that feeling of wholeness, you know, that one piece to the whole, and yeah, however that manifests for each of us individually. But yeah, I really, really love that description.
Absolutely. I feel so much permission in that, as you say, too, around the cyclical and embrace of that.
Trusting of that, yeah.
So do you want to?
Oh yes.
Or one of those two.
What do you do now, Laetitia, to support yourself with staying in the moment through those moving cycles?
Besides silly toys.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the fidgety toys, like I've been using this one. The radish has been my support during this interview. So I am a huge advocate of daily rituals and, you know, those simple moments of pause and, you know, those moments where you really reconnect with your physical body and what's around you and all of that. So for me, those daily rituals, so very simple rituals in the morning, you know, this moment of grounding, intention setting, getting out and looking at the sun and really, you know, setting up for a new day and all of that. And then, you know, every time I finish a conversation or a call or something, just taking a few deep breaths, making space for, you know, what is called sadhana in the yogic culture. So really making space for those sacred rituals, sacred moments. So preparing a delicious tea. Oh my gosh, I received the most delicious tea from Amanda. So, you know, pouring myself a beautiful cup of warm tea and savoring that tea and savoring all of the flavor, all of the plant and all of that. And then, you know, going on. And I have a very, I am very ritualistic, but I think it's also linked to, you know, my neurodivergency traits. But I know that rituals and those moments are really important for everyone in our life. So not just neurodivergent people. So yeah, at lunchtime, always eating lunch mindfully without a screen, and then going for a walk with my dog if the weather allows it, which is not really the case at the moment. So I may do something else, reading a few pages of a book or something to be mindful. And then really in the evening, I have another very big anchoring ritual in the evening, lighting my candle, sitting by my altar and writing in my journal, and then, reading a few pages and then going to sleep with a yoga nidra. So those are, kind of the thing that I really live with. And I know a lot of my clients or community member at the beginning is like, oh my gosh, I thought ritual were just, BS. But now I understand with everything you share, and I started implementing, a small ritual, and, it's just the ritual that we had. We are ritualistic being. A lot of research prove how the ritual of, having a wedding, having a baptism, celebrating the death of someone is just cathartic. So we need those moments in our daily life where we're just reconnecting with what's in you, what's alive in you, and how can you just acknowledge it, let it be, and then let it go. We cannot just brush it away. That's why, like, the positive psychology sometimes gets me. It's just like, it's not like I don't feel this. No, I feel everything, and that's what makes me, who I am. And so yeah, so really those daily rituals keeps me present and grounded. Not saying that I don't have moments where I am living in the past or the future. I have moments like this where I alternate between the triquetra of the future, the past, and the present. But I really call myself back in the present through those rituals. So if I am doing, a forecasting future planning that I was doing before our call with another client, I'm just like, okay, Excel, let's forward plan. Let's be in the future. What's happening by 2025, 2026, 2027? Like, let's do that. We're in the future. And then after that, I need to call myself back in the present. So pour myself a cup of tea before our call and just grounding myself and coming back into here to know that I'm doing this now. So it's like navigating, being comfortable navigating between the different space and time, because we know time is actually just a myth. We're just playing in what is.
Yeah, definitely. It's the time is it's another podcast altogether at the
That
moment.
is,
It's like,
yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
So there's two segues into here, which is one is our next question. But I know you've written a book lately, and I've actually got your book, and it's freaking amazing. But the process that you're just describing then, like, was your book like a ritual for you as well? Like, or like, did you combine the different parts of you, like with that projection and the journaling, the scripting, and then the ritual, and because it combines all those facets that you were just sharing.
Yeah, definitely. The book is basically putting together all of those elements that we are touching a bit on today. And the process of writing the book was really the process of daily rituals, and at the same time sometimes just having an idea coming up and then being like, okay, so tomorrow I will write this. So I think a lot of people are afraid of discipline, but discipline is very good. It's a very positive word. We just think about discipline as something that is, hitting someone for someone to do the right thing. No. Discipline can be self-discipline. It's this kind of ritual, and being disciplined when you write a book, or being disciplined when you want to grow a business, or being disciplined when you want to run a marathon. Or being disciplined. We just had the Olympics in Paris, and it's just like, it takes discipline to achieve your dream. It's not just declare it and it happened. And it's what I describe in my book. It's like, you are clear about your vision, but then on a day-to-day basis, you're compounding your effect, you're compounding your effort, you're doing those rituals, you're doing those daily things that something will flourish out of it. Not all your seeds will create the most beautiful flower, but some of them will. So just tend your seeds, and just make sure every day you tend your seeds, make sure you have everything you need in the soil, and then 1, 2, 3, 10, 20, I don't know, 100 will flourish. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, Amanda, but yeah, that's
beautiful. Yeah, no, that's beautiful. I think yeah, you can visualize. I'm just seeing those flowers popping up. Because we talk about planting seeds and things like that, but it's like, if you embrace the discipline and not see it like the word money as a dirty word or a punishment or something that's elusive, or not you because I'm in my flow, all these things, it becomes your friend, and then it becomes your tool and your ally to achieving your dreams. It's kind of
And if you allow me to build on this, I have a big analogy that people love when I teach it, which is why we need strategy and we need flow for a business to flourish. It's because if you don't have a riverbank around a river, so the riverbank will be your strategy, then your river will overflow or we dry it out. So we need a riverbank so that, and every natural river has a riverbank. And so not the one that we're building where we're not doing it well, but nature creates those beautiful riverbank where, you know, sometimes it's in overflow, sometimes it's dried out, but when everything goes well is when you have the riverbank and the river flowing through without any incident. So that's what we want in business. We want to create this strategy, or in life, we want to create this strategy with those boundaries, with this discipline, with this divine masculine energy of structure, for the divine feminine of surrender, of intuition, of flow, of inspiration, of all that to flow through. Otherwise, you're in overflow, you're dried out. So we need to, you know, we need both. And that's where, you know, a lot of people are just thinking that I don't know why we are in a society which is so binary. Like, we really need to move out of this. It's not, you know, black or white. There's so many nuances, and we really need to embrace that. And I think because simplifying it and making us believe that it's binary is maybe easier than to control us. But I really believe that we need to embrace, again, the full scope of everything, the full scope of our brain power, the full scope of, you know, food, the full scope. Like, let's stop being binary. I'm really sick of that. It's dividing us. It's dividing us.
To freedom, like just freedom.
Yeah.
Really beautiful. And something that helped me, because I definitely was allergic to the word discipline for a while. And something that helped me was a reframe of devotion. Like, instead of discipline, like I had an appreciation of discipline, and I kind of shifted to devotion, and that just felt more, I don't know, sacred, I guess, to me. Like, I'm very much in my practices, and it kind of just came in a bit.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So
I love that.
Final question here is, well, it's kind of two questions, but how do you see the world? And this is, you have spoken to this thread it throughout, but what do you see next for us as a collective?
Okay, so I see the world right now going through an awakening, an opening to the modalities that, you know, when I was little, my dad was like, shh, don't say we're doing this, like, shh, don't say that, like, no one will understand. And, you know, when I was meditating, when I was 5, I was like, what? She has a specific cushion to meditate? What is that? Now meditation is like mainstream. Who doesn't meditate? Who haven't heard about meditation? Like, it's just, you know, so I really think we're moving towards this realization of awakening, which then, you know, this acceptance of more diversity is coming up and so on. So we have this resistance more and more to a simplistic binary approach. And I think we still have this, and they're still trying, you know, in moments of fear, in moments of, you know, the economy is collapsing and this and this and that, to put us in box of binary thinking. But the more we are that are awakened, that understand the interconnectiveness, that understand the beauty of the diversity that we are, all of us, and with the plant and with the mushrooms and with all that, like, I really think that I want to say that I'm really optimistic, but then I'm always known as being super optimistic. So, you know, there is only one patch of blue sky and everywhere else is dark. Like, I would focus on the blue sky, and everyone's like, Laetitia, it's not a good day. I'm like, it is, look at that. So you know, people will laugh at me for that, but I really think that more and more people are standing up, and standing up for the planet, standing up for diversity, standing up for, you know, even where we live in Australia, I see more and more people standing up for First Nations. Like, I really and truly believe those of us who are awake and needs to help others in their journey, for them to see with our beautiful rainbow glasses, you know, through not just seeing black, white, and good, bad, and didi, like binary thing, man, woman. No. Like, we can have different approach, you know, we can be a man, a woman, non-binary, you know, we can be, you know, transsexual. Like, let's just accept this beautiful diversity. Like, you're not going to tell the flowers that it's not allowed to be blue. If it wants to be blue, it's just blue. So let's just embrace all of this. So I'm quite optimistic in terms of the future, and I really think that this is our responsibility as parents or auntie or sister, or whatever is the role that you have where you can impact a new generation, to really impact the new generation. We need to impact this new generation and make sure that they see with our multicolor glasses, because they're the one we're gonna influence the rest.
Yeah, I love that. Together we rise. I think that's beautifully spoken, and I just feel the color and the diversity and the change that's possible when you're speaking into the space that you're just sharing then, instead of resistance or clinging to that binary. I mean, that's a powerful one of the powerful bits of gold from today, of identifying that binary thinking. We don't think that is happening around us, and why we're so why we're feeling so limited. But you just created a lot of freedom with giving permission and seeing the diversity as a gift, as opposed to confusion or something that's so different from us. Again, it's that embracing collective thought of what is here for us if we just simply allow it to be, instead of trying to, merging the masculine and feminine, the riverbank and the river flow. For me, that just feels like one of the beautiful gifts that you've shared with us today, as well as all the other gifts that you've shared today, Laetitia.
Yes,
I mean,
so
it's
many.
abundant.
Thank you.
Oh,
Wow. Joy.
Yeah, absolute joy. We're going to share all your links in the podcast notes and the YouTube as well. Thank you so much, Laetitia, for making the time, for sitting with us today. It's
been wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. See you.